Hello, everybody. This is Haruna. Welcome to session 7 of our coding sampler. And I'm going to switch right over to our presentation. And again, this is session 7. We are doing ScratchJr today. And I am going to apologize in advance. I am by myself today, and we have nobody monitoring the Today's Meet channel. So we are still using it as your way to ask questions. However, I may be a little bit late in responding to those questions. So I will be checking Today's Meet periodically, but since I'm here by myself, I might be a little bit slow to respond. Just keep that in mind. So jumping right in. ScratchJr is a iPad, Chromebook, and Android app. I forgot to insert that Android app that lets very young children learn how to code. And it's a spin-off from Scratch, which was covered in session 3. Scratch is a very popular graphical programming platform used in a lot of different schools. And Scratch was developed for grades 3 and up. And ScratchJr was developed in response to teachers of younger grades who said, why can't we have something that's better for younger kids? So it made some changes to Scratch, made it specifically for younger students, and spun it off as ScratchJr. It's got a simplified interface, which is easier to use for younger kids. And it's ideal for creating animated stories for digital storytelling, not so much for making games like Scratch was, because a lot of the interactive and more complex features of the codes were taken away for that during the simplification process. Again, the interface is specifically designed for pre-readers. All of the blocks don't have any text on it, so everything is by pictures. And as you can see here, I'll show you more in a little bit. This little screenshot shows you that all of the icons use arrows and other pictures so that smaller, younger kids who don't read yet can code with it. It is recommended for ages 5 through 7. I would say it could go a little bit higher than that, but definitely starting at pre-K. There are 2 different versions of the app available if you go to the App Store. There's an original version which features a cartoon cat, which if you've seen Scratch before, you'll kind of see the relation to Scratch. This is like a younger brother of the Scratchy the cat. And then there's a version for PBS Kids that has a lot of built-in characters and backgrounds and scenes from popular PBS Kids shows. The website is ScratchJr.org, and we'll go in there in a little bit, but I won't go there yet. Just to compare the different tools that we have covered so far, so between the block coding tools that we've covered so far, we have Scratch, which was session 3, Hopscotch, which was session 5, and then today we are doing ScratchJr. Scratch was for grades 3 through 12-ish, and Hopscotch, which we did a week ago, was for grades 3 through 8-ish. And ScratchJr, again, is for grades pre-K through about 2nd grade. So you can see that after you learn some block coding with ScratchJr in the simplified interface, you can then move on to things like Scratch and Hopscotch to do a little bit more sophisticated coding. Each one has a preferred set of platforms. Scratch can work on PC, Macs, and Chromebooks. It is web-based. ScratchJr works on iPad, Androids, and Chromebooks. And Hopscotch works on iPads and iPhones. So depending on what tools you have available for your classroom, you can pick and choose which tool might work the best for you. All of them are free. Scratch and Hopscotch have account setups that you need to do. For Scratch, you can work without accounts, but if you want to save any of your programs, you need to make an account. Hopscotch, you're required to make an account when you start. ScratchJr does not require any account, and actually there is no way to make an account because, again, it is for younger students, and I think they just wanted to take that complication out. Part of the side effect of that is there is not much sharing option for ScratchJr projects compared to Scratch or Hopscotch, which can be shared among their community. So we'll get into this a little bit later. I'll show you this sharing feature in ScratchJr, but it is very limited. And so if you want to share any of the work that your students have done, we got to get a little bit creative with that. And again, I'll get into that in a little bit. Scratch is the most powerful in terms of the language among the three. It can make very complex games and animations, and it can really do some sophisticated coding with Scratch. Hopscotch is the next sophisticated one. It's very good for making animations in simple games. Not quite as powerful as Scratch when it comes to the actual coding aspect of it. ScratchJr is the most limited version because it is for younger kids. And it's best for making short stories and animation. It can do games, but because it doesn't have any feature to like keep scores and things like that, it's a little bit more difficult to design real interactive games with ScratchJr. Although we will, I will show you an example of that when we get there. Scratch lets you import custom objects and backgrounds. ScratchJr, you can also import images using the camera on board the device. However, the editing tools are a little bit more limited, and it's a little bit tricky to use compared to Scratch. Hopscotch did not have any option to import images, so you had to make your own background if you wanted to create a background, for example. But Hopscotch, you were able to use emojis as objects, therefore giving you access to a wide range of pictures that you otherwise wouldn't have. And Scratch you can use with some hardware. The Lego WeDo kits, for example, or the Finch robots work with Scratch. ScratchJr does not work with any hardware, but again, its real characteristic is that it was specifically designed for pre-readers. Hopscotch does not work with any hardware either, but it's got a nice little advantage that it can work with different iPad interface, like you can shake the iPad and make the program do something. For example, it'll work with the gyro sensor inside the iPad, which the other two programs can't do. So each one has their own characteristics and strengths and weaknesses. Again, you kind of have to pick and choose depending on what device you have and what your student's age range is and what you want to do with the program. For ScratchJr, there aren't too many different words that you need to know. One is the character. You have characters and or objects in the program. And of course, you can have more than one character. You have the stage, which is the background. And unlike Scratch, you can only have one stage per page. And you could have up to 4 pages, but you can't have like the unlimited series of backgrounds like you can in Scratch. Again, you have the character, stage, and the stage is the background within a page. And then a page can have different characters in them. And you can have up to 4 pages in a ScratchJr program. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to switch over to my document camera so that you get to see my iPad. Hold on one moment. There we go. Okay. So here's my iPad right here. We have ScratchJr, and this here is the PBS version of it. And I will not show you that yet. I'll get into the original one. And after we're done with the project and stuff for today, I'll show you very quickly the PBS version just to show you that it's identical except for the selection of characters you get. So there we go. So this is the opening screen you get. Again, there is no login or sign in or anything required. Oh, wait. I had meant to show you the ScratchJr website before I got into here. So let me switch back to my, online. There we go. Sorry about that. So this is the ScratchJr website, ScratchJr.org. And again, it is a tool for young children ages 5 to 7. And it has links to the Apple's App Store, Google Play, Amazon, and the Chrome Web Store. So depending on which tool you have, you can choose and go to the appropriate store to get the app. And again, it's free, so you don't have to pay. And it's also available in Spanish for the Android and iOS tablets, not for the Chromebook version yet. In here, I do want to show you there are two very important tabs, the Learn tab and the Teach tab. So I'm going to first go into the Learn tab. If you go into the Learn tab, it has an interface guide that tells you what all of these different buttons mean. And I will show you these once we get into the screen, but you might want to keep this page open if you're on a browser right now, so that when I switch over to the iPad screen and go over these icons, you could have this handy. But you have home button. Again, the number 2 is the stage, which is this background here. We have characters on the left, pages on the right. Well, let me not get into it too much. But this resource is here if you ever need a reminder of what each icon does, each button does. This is a guide for how to use the Paint editor, the graphics editor within ScratchJr. It is, again, they simplify the tool set, which is good in a sense and bad in a sense. It's good that it's a simplified tool set and you don't have too many to choose from. But because of that, the functionalities are a little bit limited and it's a little bit tricky to work with. And I will show you some of that later as well. There is a whole list of block descriptions in here, which talks about every single block you'll find in ScratchJr. So this is also a nice reference to have. And there is back to block description. There is a guide that you can download as a PDF as well, so you could have it handy if you ever need it. And then there's a lot of videos for tips and hints. So there are short little videos of how to use certain features in ScratchJr. So these are very useful. So this is the Learn tab. If I move on to the Teach tab, there are activities. These are like one-pager activities that you could do quickly. And these are all in like a one-page card. So they're very easy to implement and nice to have. There are also curricula that has been developed. So there are the animated genres curriculum, playground games curriculum, and literacy and math curriculum. So you could take a look at these curriculum. If you think that they'll work for your classroom, you're obviously welcome to use it. Or you can pick and choose from these curriculum the activities that may fit. And there are also some assessments. The assessments are like, so for example, this handout here is Circle the Block assessment. And what you are going to do is, it comes with instructions on what to do with it. But so let's say you create a very, very simple program in ScratchJr and show the students the program. Then the students would then circle the codes that were used in the program. So you kind of test their understanding of the coding. So if you want to do any sort of assessment with coding and how students understand coding, you could use these. But what I found was these handouts are actually really good to just have and cut out and use as a desktop activity before the kids actually get onto the app. So you can use these cut up slivers of paper and little blocks that are printed out on paper to plan your program before they get on the iPad. That way they don't get too crazy, and it's more likely that they'll stick to their plan that they already made on paper. So rather than using it as assessments, I really like using these as activities, pre-coding activities. All right, so let's go back to the iPad now. Where did that go? So here we go. So back to the screen for Scratch. I'm going to go right to the Home button. Now, when I click on the Home button, you're going to see all of the projects that I have made so far. And you will probably only get a blank program if you just downloaded this app. And ScratchJr autosaves. So anytime you start a project and then don't just kind of let it be, it'll start saving it as project with a number after it. So I have all these different projects that I started working on and never really finished. But to create a new project, you click on the plus button. And you will see, give it a second, you will see the interface that you saw earlier in the web page. Okay, so again, we have, I'm going to resort to my low-tech transparency here for a second. There we go. So we have the characters on this side. This is where the characters will be. And you can add more characters by clicking on the plus button, and there are also ways to delete it, which I'll get into in a second. These are the pages, and again, you can have up to 4 pages. There are no apparent limit to how many characters you can have. We have the home button here. So once you're, if you want to go home and go back to the list of projects, that's where you'll click. This is the stage. And to change your background on a stage, you'll be clicking on this icon here, which I'll get into in a second. The green flag is sort of artifact that was adopted from Scratch. That's what you would press to play the program. And this is sort of your tool palette down here. Your tool palette is color-coded. So right now we have all the blue motion icons, but we have yellow, oops. Green is for sound. We have orange for structure and loops and things like that. Purple is looks. Going back to the blue. And so that's the basics of the interface. And I'm gonna move my transparency away because my it doesn't seem to respond well to touch when I have that on there. 2 more important icons that I do want to show is this one here is to make it full screen. So once your program is done and you're, for example, showing it to the whole class, you can make it whole screen so that you don't see all the codes. And this here shows you a grid, and it helps you figure out your movements. And one of the features of ScratchJr that's really helpful for smaller kids is that they made the background smaller than, for example, Scratch. That was, I believe it was like 640 by some other. So it doesn't go into the hundreds. And if I zoom in on this a little bit, you can see that. So horizontal axis goes from 1 to 20, and then vertically it goes from 1 to 15. So all the numbers are very small and easily manageable for pre-K students. Going back, zooming out again. And same thing with the rotation. Typically in like Scratch, if you do rotations, it's in degrees. And one whole rotation would be 360. In ScratchJr, the rotation goes from 0 to 12 for the whole rotation. So you can actually point to a clock and kind of tell the students, it's the same as a clock, which is a really nice, helpful way of doing rotation without getting into big numbers. So going back to, so I'm going to turn off the grid. And to add a character, you would hit the plus button. And you're going to get a library of pre-programmed characters. These ones, whoops, I did not mean to add that dragon. And any of the characters in here can be edited. And actually the top chunk you see here are all the ones that I've already edited, and it auto-saved. So you probably will not see this. What you'll see is starting here, which are the default character set. And you can edit a character right from here, or you can edit it later after you insert it into your program. And so for example, let's say I wanted a cat, but I don't want an orange cat. I can tap on the cat and click on the edit button. If I was okay with the orange cat, I can just double tap on here or click on the check button, and it will get inserted right into the program. But if I hit the orange, the edit button, there are different paint options that you can do, and kids really love this part. So let's say if I wanted to make him green, then I have the paint bucket icon selected, and then just start tapping the areas that I want to become green, and it will do it. It's already, you can't really just color certain parts of it. You have to, when you fill the color, it'll automatically select the entire block that's that color and color it all in. You can also do certain shapes. However, it is a little bit tricky. So let's say do a circle. it's not very good at doing freehand, although it can. And there are also options to cut, delete, things like that. So if I wanted to cut, I will select, if I wanted to delete something, there is no like eraser. What you have to do is select the scissors, which is cut, and tap on the thing that I want to erase. So you can't erase it like an eraser, like just erase certain portions of it. So that's what I meant by a simplified tool set, but it's a little bit tricky to use. There is a camera option as well, which I will show you with something else. So now I have a yellow cat, orange cat, and a green cat. And I'm going to go back in here and show you the camera option. So there are a couple different ways you can use the camera option. And one of the way is, so all of these characters in here have a blank face, if you could see. And let's say you select one and edit. So this character has a blank face. The idea is you're going to put your own face inside there using the camera feature. So to use the camera feature, you will tap on the camera tool, and then you need to select the area where you want the camera image to appear. So now I'm going to select the face. And obviously, it's looking at the ceiling because the camera is pointing to the ceiling right now. And I know there it is. So that is me right there. And I can smile and put my face in there. OK, so if your student was holding this, obviously, they can do a better job lining it up and making themselves look pretty. But you can customize a character to have your own face in it. Now, this is a little bit creepy, so I'm going to delete that. You can also go back. And you can also do something like start a blank character and edit. And draw a shape first. Then use that shape as the camera input. So this is useful if you have like a picture, or so you could, if you have like a student drew a picture and you want to use that picture as one of the characters in the project, then you could do something like this. So this one, check, and now we have a character. Sorry, I'm going to increase the volume here. So that's how you would make different characters. And to delete the characters, you will tap the box and hold until you see a red check, red X mark, and tap the X and it goes away. And you can also do that from your program, the stage. So you can either do it from here or in there. OK, so now we're back to the two cats. You can also change the background by tapping this background. And again, you have this pre-selected range of sceneries, or you can make your own. And this is, again, where you can do a camera, use the camera to import your own picture. Now, we cannot import pictures from your iPad's album. You have to take the picture right then and there if you want to use it. So an easy way to do it is to have a picture drawn or a photograph and then use the camera to import that. Unfortunately, you cannot import right from the album, right from your iPad's album. So I'm going to hit the X mark. And then the different blocks are down here. Each character will have their own script. So for example, right now, I just told the orange cat, and the way I know that I'm in the orange cat is because this one's highlighted here. Tap to run, and it just goes right and left. And anytime you see a number, you can tap on the number, and you'll get a little keypad here that you can change the number. And if you recall our little grid, it goes from 1 to 20 all the way across. So if I wanted him to go a little bit less than halfway, I'm just going to put in 8 to see what happens. And it goes back and forth. And you can run it by tapping on your script or tapping on the green flag. And it's actually a good practice to put one of these green flag icons to start your program so that it can move back and forth like so. Any code you have with the green flag on will start at the same time. So we can do stuff like, I'm going to make it go up and then down, which if you imagine something going up and over at the same time, it is going to travel diagonally. And if I run this by tapping on my script rather than hitting the green flag, only that portion will run. This other piece will not run over here. But if I wanted these to both run at the same time like I intended, then I will have to push the green flag. And you may have noticed the cat's head popping in over here right now. Just here. What happens in ScratchJr is if you go over the number, so if I went over 20 in this direction or 15 in the vertical direction, then it comes back on the other side, and it'll automatically do that. So right now, it went a little bit too high, came to the bottom, and then went back to the top. So if you had a program that just kept the cat going to the right, for example, if it just kept on going to the right for, let's say, 50 counts, then you'll notice that it's just going to keep on going and come back on the other end and just keep on going. And there it goes. Okay, some of the other icons that I would like to show you are repeat. I'm going to change this number back to something smaller. So there are the typical repeat blocks. Again, you can change how many times you want to repeat something. So this time it's repeating 3 times. So we'll go up and down and up and down and up and down 3 times. You can also set the speed to slow, medium, or fast. You can't really do fine tuning of speed, but the default speed is medium. So if you don't do anything, it will be at medium speed, but I just chose fast, and you can tell the difference how fast it goes now. There is also a weight block if you wanted to add a weight. Going into the purple menu, there is a shrink and a grow. So this one is grow. So you'll see that the cat gets a little bit bigger. And you can change the number by how much to make it grow. You can shrink it back. I'm going to shrink it. So now it was +2, and then I'm taking away 4, so it'll be 2 counts smaller than what I started out with. And if I do that, you'll notice that now it wasn't moving diagonally in a clean way because this icon here took some time. So the up and down motion started later than this motion here. So that's why it sort of started traveling in a little rectangular pattern rather than doing the clean diagonal pattern. So if I didn't want that to happen, I could do something like this, where now the sideways and the up and down motion starts at the same time as well as the shrinking. So now we get a nice diagonal movement again. Let's see what else we have. There is a hide and a show. So let's see. Well, I'll just show you what this one does. Hide obviously makes things go away. And then to get it back, you have to show it again. Okay. And there is also something called a, whoops, sorry. So there are different ways to start a program. The easiest way is the green flag, which will start when you hit the green flag. But there's also this one, which is when tapped. So I'm sort of moving things around very quickly here. But when tapped means it will do this when I tap my character. So I just tapped the cat, and this piece of code will execute because I have the when tapped one. There is also when bumped, which means if another character comes and touches that character, then it moves. So now I got to make my green one move as well. Let's see what's the easiest way to do this is. You know what? Let me do this. I'm going to copy this code over into the green cat. And what I'm hoping is once the orange cat starts moving to the right and touches the green cat, then the green cat will move up and down. And to copy a piece of code from one character to another, you just tap and drag this, bring it right over to the green cat, and let go. So now if I go to the green cat, this code is right here. And then I will delete the orange one. And now let's see what happens. So what should happen when I hit the green flag is the orange cat will go back and forth, and then the green cat, once the orange cat hits it, will start moving up and down. All right. So that's another thing you could do. One more thing I do want to show you before I move on to the little project is this mail. So the mail is a kind of a abstract concept that you can think of it as like a baton in a relay. One character will send a mail using this icon, and then you have a when received mail in a different character. So when one character sends a mail, the other character will receive the mail and then start doing something. So I'm going to make the orange cat send a mail once it's done with the 3 back and forth. And there are 6 different colors of mail you could use, which means you could basically use this function 6 times in a program without having it get all confused. So now I'm going to put this in front of the green one. So now what would happen is the orange cat will go back and forth 3 times and then send an orange mail. Then the green cat will receive that mail and start moving up and down. So orange cat moves back and forth 3 times, then the mail comes and the green cat moves up and down. So it's really like a relay baton, not so much. You can think of it as they use a mail icon, but that concept seems to be a little confusing sometimes. But if you think of it as a baton, it's a little bit easier. So now that we have gone over all the interface, actually one more little thing. To add a page, you would tap on this plus here, and it puts out another page. And as soon as you make another page, the default character will show up, which is the orange cat. But obviously, you can add other characters. And if you wanted the green cat to also appear in the second page, you will just take this and drag it into the new page, and it will magically appear in the second page as well. And you could do that with any other character. Or you could have a completely different set of characters for the different page. And you could have a different background for page 1, page 2, 3, and 4. And then as far as the program goes, once you make a second page, you're going to get this additional icon here that says, go to the second page. And that's how you would get the program to move on to the second page. Okay. So I think we are good to start working on a little project. And I'm going to do a little project that I call an opposites project. Basically, the idea is kids will come up with some opposite words and then create a little animation to demonstrate what the opposite words are. So I have a lesson plan for this that I'll be sharing with you later on, and I'll show you where that is. But for now, I just want to show you a storyboard. So what is going to happen is in the first page, and this template also will be given to you, and you can feel free to use it with your students. And so in the first page, I'm going to have 2 characters, an elephant and a frog, and that is for the words big and small. And then second page, I'm going to do a car and a bicycle for the words fast and slow. And again, those are opposites. And if I do get to a third page, I'm going to do a giraffe and a rabbit, and the words I choose are going to be tall and short. And I think I forgot to show you the speech stuff, but I will get into it once I move on to the storyboard. So again, so I'm going to start with the elephant and the frog. So moving on, I'm just going to start a new project rather than deleting all the cats. So this is a fresh new project. Rather than deleting the cat, I'm just going to say edit. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I will delete the cat. And I'm going to select an elephant and a frog. Okay. And you can move it around on the screen as much as you'd like. And you can select the background if you'd like. And I'll select like a little savanna background. There we go. And the first thing I'm going to have to do is go into the elephant. And I was going to make it say, I am an elephant. I am big. So the speech options are in the looks. And there's a little icon here that says hi. You tap on the hi and you can edit the speech. And it kind of gives you different spelling suggestions as well. Okay, and this one, this purple speech icon will just produce a speech bubble. It does not actually make sound. And if you want it to make sound, there is a sound icon here that you can actually record your own sound. Can't really see because my screen got really bright. There. So if using this interface, you can actually record your own sound by clicking on this red button. And then you can replay it in the program, which is very nice for younger students who are learning just learning to read, or that doesn't quite know how to spell yet, but wants to incorporate stories into their program. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of that. But for now, I'm going to just do the speech bubble. And what I'm going to do is after I say this, I will send a mail to the frog. And the frog will receive my mail and say, I am a frog. Okay, so let me just play that now. So elephant says, I'm an elephant, I'm big. And then the frog says, I'm a frog, I'm small. Okay. So that's the first part of the program. And we could make the elephant move or the frog move, but we'll do that if there's time at the end. Second piece is going to be the car and the bicycle. So I'm going to add a new page. And again, delete the cat and add a car and a bicycle. Where did the bicycle go? Oh, here. Okay. And these are a little bit big, so I'm actually going to also change this, the size of it. But one thing you definitely do need to remember as soon as you add a page is to go back to your first page or the previous page and add this icon, which makes it go to the next page. And then the second page, you can start again with the green flag. And that will not start until it gets the go to second page from the first page. I'm going to start with the car, but I want the car to shrink a little bit because it's a little big. It's still kind of big. Okay. So car and I am a, or I could just say this is a car. That's probably better. A car. It is big. No, it is fast. And then send another mail. And the important thing here is we need to select a different color mail because I already used orange mail. And then for the cyclist, I'm going to have receive red mail. And I'm going to shrink this bicycle as well because it's a little big. And say, this is a bike. It is slow. So let's try that. Okay, so that only played the second page because I was in the second page when I hit the play button. So I'm going to go back to the first page and play the whole thing again. And as you're doing this, you could also make it move. And especially for the fast and the slow, it might be fun to make it move. So you could do something like, it'll receive the red mail. And it will move forward, let's say, 30, but do it slowly. So remember, we had the speed button, so I'll slow this one down. And then for the car, we could make it move, but move fast. And we'll make it move, let's say 60. And let me just play the second page. And that way, you really can see that the students need to understand fast and slow, and they can program their cars and the car and bicycle to move accordingly. And I forgot to add a background to this, so we can add another background. Let's say that one. Actually, we have a flying car. Okay. So that's kind of how you would start developing programs in ScratchJr. And again, I'm not going to go into the third page just for the interest of time because there are other things I'd rather cover than going into the third page. So let's see. So I've showed you how to copy characters. I showed you how to copy code. Oh, saving. So by default, this thing is saved as project with a number on it. If you want to change the name of that of your project, you tap on the little tab at the top right, and you can change your name here. So let's say I can call this opposites. And what you'll notice is that there's an option. You can't really see right now. Hold on, let me make the screen a little darker. There we go. There are buttons that says share by email and share by AirDrop. Now, you may not get this AirDrop one unless you have an iPad. If you're using any of the other devices, you won't get that. But that's the only way you can share a ScratchJr project. And if you do this, what will happen is so let's say I say share by email and share. This is just to make sure that it is not a robot and a kid is not just playing. And you enter, it opens up an email interface in iPad, and you just send it as an attachment. The only issue is the receiving end needs to have ScratchJr. So you can't just open this up on your L4L and run it. You will have to open it up in your iPad or your Android device, save it, and then open it in ScratchJr. So that's why that's what I said about the limited sharing options. So if you did want to share this project with a wider audience, you would have to take a video of it or do something creative like that to actually share it. You could also do a screenshot, screen capture from your L4L, for example. And then, so we have 15 minutes left. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint or my slides and show you a few more things. What's that? Oops, wrong window. There we go. In terms of the Massachusetts DLCS standards, now we are looking at kindergarten through grade 2 rather than grade 3 through 8 or the high school grade. And what you'll notice is that in kindergarten through grade 2, there's really no expectation as far as the standard goes to use actual technology and coding tools. So if you look at the computational thinking strands for kindergarten and grade 2, you don't really see any that really applies to ScratchJr. Where you'll find, though, is in digital tools and collaboration strand, you'll find things like creating a simple digital artifact or using appropriate digital tools to create, review, and revise simple artifacts. Collaboratively use digital tools and media resources to communicate ideas in ways that inform, persuade, and or entertain. So these are the real standards that really fit well into ScratchJr. Surprisingly, you won't find strands that really fit in the computational thinking strands. As far as project goes, there's different ways to integrate this into your curriculum. And for example, the sample project I just did now works well with ELA. I used opposites and adjectives, but you can do it with other letters. If you have like some vocabulary words of the week, you can do a project based on that. Or one of the curriculums that you'll find on the ScratchJr website does alphabets. So you can have, let's say if you have 20-something students in your class, every student could do a letter and make several pages that illustrates different words that begin with that letter, for example. Students can write stories and animate all or part of it. They could also animate scenes from a book that you've read in class, or maybe give their own twist to it. If you want to use this in a science class, because it only has 4 pages, it actually works really well with different life cycles. So butterfly cycle, plant cycle, things like that. Seasons, weather, planets, those are different things you could do in science that work really well with the structure. And then for math, you could do an animation of a math problem. So for example, you could do something like there were 3 butterflies and then 4 more came. How many do you get type of thing in an animation in ScratchJr. And I'm going to go back to my camera and show you some of those examples that I've already made. So let me go back to my home. And you notice that my project 2 was saved automatically, although I didn't really save it. Oh, one more little note is, actually, no, forget it. I will get to that in a second. Sorry about that. So I want to show you several different projects. So the first one is Blast Off, I think is the one I want to show. Yes, so I'm going to make this big screen. And this is a project that describes a couple different things in a solar system. And because it's only 4 pages long, it can't do every single planet on the solar system. But you could sort of pick and choose and do what you like. Sorry, my camera's exposure level is going nuts with this. But so we're on Saturn right now. And then we're talking about the sun. So we could do different pages that illustrates different facts about planets, or it could be about any other science concept. Going back. And the second one I want to show is addition. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's play that. So this is something that you can do to animate a simple addition concept. But you know, if every student does something different, you could have a whole different student created lessons on different addition problems, or multiplication, or subtraction, or any kind of simple math problems. And the final example I want to show is this is going to be a game. And I think I told you earlier that it's a little bit difficult to do real interactive games in Scratch because you can't do variables and keep score and things like that. So this one is sort of the extent of what we can do. And in this game, we have the cat going back and forth. And it doesn't come with instructions, so the kids have to kind of play with it and figure it out. But there is this mushroom on the corner, and if I tap the mushroom, we get a peach falling from the sky or the tree. And the objective of the game is to make the cat, or make the peach hit the cat, and then the cat says, yum. But like I said before, there is no keeping track of scores or anything, so this is a very non-competitive game, and it's more just for fun. But this type of game you can do in ScratchJr. And kids at that age don't really need a competitive game. They could sit and play with this forever, and they'll still have fun. So it's really, it's okay that it's a friendly, non-competitive game. So you can do something like this in ScratchJr. But again, you can't really do sophisticated games like you can do with Scratch. And for this one, the cat is just going back and forth. The peach just has, the mushroom just sends a mail when it gets, when I tap on it, and then the peach falls when it receives the mail. So that's really all there is to it. There we go. And you could do something similar to like the Crossy Road activity we did in Hopscotch. But again, it's not going to be as interactive, but you can definitely have characters going back and forth and make a sound if you hit a car or things like that is definitely possible in ScratchJr as well. Let me just go back to my slides one more time. And in terms of implementation, because you can't share the project and there's no account creation, everything is stored locally on the device. So if you're using iPads, for example, it's very important that you assign the same iPad to the students, to the same student each time. So usually classroom iPads are numbered. So if you just make a chart and say, okay, so so-and-so will get iPad number 2 every single time, then it shouldn't be a problem. Chromebooks, though, it'll be saved on the account, so you don't have to worry as much about that. And one of the other things is once you create a project and it's saved automatically, there's really no way to lock it. So it's also very easy to accidentally delete or edit a project that you've already made before. So like I share my iPad with my kids, and I have a project that I created to use as a demo, and then my kids go into it and all of a sudden change stuff around, so now it's no longer working. That happens very often. So that's another reason why you should just assign tablets to a student and keep it. If you have multiple classes using it, though, that gets a little bit tricky, so that you have to really enforce and have students be careful about opening other people's projects and changing it, because it will auto-save. Even if they just wanted to look at it and change, and accidentally tap something, it could get saved saved and written over the old working project. So you just have to be really careful with that. Another tip is to give students time to play and explore at the beginning, definitely at least a period, because most kids, if we do this in a class, especially the younger ones, will go nuts over all the movement things and like editing the characters and putting their own face on a character. So they won't be able to focus on a project until they've had time to play with it and explore all the icons. And it's not like it's time wasted, because they're learning what the icons do anyway. But giving them time to play freely and just you don't really have to have an end goal for the first period, and then get it out of their system. And that way, next time they do it, they can focus on the project. Once they had time to explore and they're ready to move into the project, it's important that you spend time planning the story using paper. So the storyboard thing I had is very important, because otherwise they will go off track and again start playing and experimenting too much with the movement and the visuals, and not have such a much of an end goal. So it is very important to use the storyboards and have a goal. And you could have them, change the motions and add different colors and make it pretty after they've gone through the storyboard and programmed all the required things. But having a plan on paper definitely helps. And the other tool that I showed earlier with the printed out versions of the blocks, you could work with that as well, so that you could have a plan and even a code plan before you start working on the iPads. So as far as the assignments go for this session, again, we have the exit ticket like we always do, and then we have a project. The first option is to create to finish this opposites project. You can use different characters, you can use different word pairs. I would like you to have at least 3 pages and some motion as well. The other option is to create an original project. And I gave you a bunch of different ideas. You could work from any of those, or you could have your own idea and just create your own project. And then again, because of the limited sharing options in ScratchJr, you're gonna have to submit a video instead of submitting us the project, unfortunately. So you can record a video of your project, either by using another device like a phone, or you could record it on your L4L and then submit a video for us. And if you really have trouble doing that, just let us know. We can show you how to do it. We can definitely help you through that. And again, try your best to plan it out. I'm gonna show you some other storyboards in the short 4 minutes we have, and ask for help if you get stuck. And once again, test your code as you go. Don't wait until you're done with everything to test. And I think you're getting the hang of this by now, that we're telling you to do this every single time. Additional resources, ScratchJr.org, we went through that. Again, there is a Learn tab with a lot of references, reference materials that you should definitely look at. And the Teach tab, which is not going to be, not so much for your learning, but for your teaching, it will be very useful. And then I have a link to Google Drive folder on the BPS Learn site that is right here. ScratchJr, let me scroll down. So Google Drive folder. So this is where we have links to several different lesson plans, including the opposites one that I just did. And you can take a look at these. So the opposites one, for example, has step-by-step instructions on how to do this in your class, and different, and let's see, where did it go? And the storyboard as well, the blank one, so you could use it to fill it in. So that was opposites. We also have let's say, this particular activity does not have, why is it taking so long? This one is for different motion icons. Whoops, so I guess I won't do that one, a field trip one. So this is a field trip one, which again contains instructions and a storyboard to help you or the students plan what to do. So you're welcome to use any of these for your assignment or for your class. You have the link to this folder in your BPS Learns. And if you do option 1, there's also a link to the opposite lesson plan on the project 1 link as well. Okay. So let's see where we are. Oh, and some teachers have said there's some discrepancy between the activities they've actually completed and the check marks you get in BPS Learn, so these little check marks. Don't worry too much about it. We're keeping track of it on our end as well. So even if your check mark didn't get checked, if we received your assignment, you'll be all set. So don't be too alarmed if the check marks aren't correct. But if you have any doubts about whether we received your project or not, just email us and we'll just go back into our list and check to make sure we've gotten it and we've checked that off. Okay. So again, August 10th, we have a conference coming up, Learn, Teach, Lead. Make sure you sign up if you haven't already. And the next session is session 8. Is going to be the last session before we take a 2-week break. It's going to be about Sketchpad, Sketch.io, and processing, which are like they're all like visualization tools. So you'll see a lot of really cool visual projects like that's related to art and math. So it's going to be a very exciting session. So please tune in. And we are right on time. And thank you for tuning in. And we will see you back on Thursday. Bye-bye.